Now I'm going to show you a really easy landscape. What I'm doing is applying our white pencil, which is 101 in the Faber Pastel range, to the sand colour ombre paper which I've got here. And although, as you can see, I'm not worrying too much about being too fussy, but I don't want really to press the pastel pencil on the buildings too much, so I'm going round them. I'm going to use my finger in a minute, and when I do that it won't be so controlled, but that doesn't matter so much because when you use your finger you don't compress the paper. But the way I'm doing it now, I've done that half already just to save a bit of time, so I'm going to show you the whole thing and match that up with that. Now you get to the point now where you can't put any more on, and there's quite a lot of dust on there. Now what I'm doing, I'm using my finger. Now you can use a blender, but really the finger is best, because well, for one thing, all that dust that I've got on there will be rubbed in. Now this is what I was talking about when I said that I'm not going to worry too much about rubbing it on top of the buildings and the harbour wall and the lighthouse, etc. And when you come round here, you don't have to worry about that either. Now that is lovely. Isn't that good? Now that's perfect. That's a perfect sky. What we've done, we've added just the white to make it more acceptable. I mean, you've got a lovely colour here. This sand colour is great, and we're going to be using that as we go through the picture, but it wouldn't be any good in the sky. On top of that, we use the blue. This is 143 in Faber range. And this time, we're going to make a fairly simple sky, and it won't be too complicated. So what that is, that's a cloud. Now you can make your own up, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm not going to... There's another one, see? Another one there. Not be too fussy. We come over here. I don't want any cloud at the top, I want that to be blue across the top there. But there we have a little bit of cloud going behind those. Got the idea? Right, they're clouds. Now what you do with that is you just rub that. Now you have to be fairly forceful with this to really dig it in with your finger. Okay. Now you're not going to be able to fashion the clouds any more than I'm doing at the moment. But you can see that doesn't look bad. As long as you really press it hard, you've got to push that colour into the white. And there we are. Now you could leave it like that. I'm not going to, but you could do. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put just a little more blue at the top. And then when you get to about a third of the way down, stop. And that goes in again. So you're adding a little extra blue to that area. Okay. Down here. And what you can also do is add a little more white down here, because that means that you'll have a horizon line that will be a bit lighter. See that? Do you see how much lighter that is compared with the top? You'll see it better if I turn this round. Now you can see. And that's more natural. Now the white there, what we do now is use our white again, and we go over the top of the white we've got there. Now let me show you the easy way of doing this. This is the easy way. And after all, the idea of this is simplicity. It's a simple landscape. We do have more complicated ones if you're interested and want to do them, but this is something that people started with landscape in the pastel pencil. And you can see this twiddle action that I do. Alright, now that's quite important because you get a nice feeling and a nice flow. When you go on top of the blue like that, obviously it's not going to colour the same way as it is where we were putting the light, the white. Okay? Now, ideally with clouds you want to be as random as you can. You don't want to make them one double here and a double there and a double. It looks a bit artificial. And when we come down to the bottom, I'm going to put a bit more cloud in. As I say, I want to go behind those buildings. A little bit behind those buildings. Yeah, like that. Now, if you've got one of these are colour shapers. You have to make sure they're nice and clean at the end. And you can use those like this. You can use your finger, but really I'd like to get you to use a blender. You see how nice that is? Now when it gets down to here, that cloud is going to be a weaker cloud. Got me? Because we're going into the blue. And when you get to there, stop. No need to go any further than that. Let's do it again and show you how I did that. Twiddle it round like that and then tail it off like that. And there we go, down through here. Now how nice is that, folks? See how natural that is? Let's do it a little bit more down here so that we get the finish. And it's nice sometimes to come in from the edge. A few little wispy clouds coming up there. There we are. And there we are. Now that is fantastic. And I think, to be honest, you could do that. Now when you come down to this one, we want to leave a little bit of light coming in through here. You see, just sort of like a distant cloud. Nothing complicated. Don't make it complicated to start with. There's plenty of chance later on as you get more experience if you decide to go with pastel pencils and use them more to get it. And then if you feel like it, just add just a little more in the strongest parts and then leave it alone. Don't touch it. Although I said that, and then you can also use a bit of ivory. And this is 103 ivory in the Faber range, and that gives you a nice creamy look to the sky. I hope you can see that on the screen. No need to blend it anymore. Leave it. Just I'm saying that and I'm touching it, but you wouldn't. You just leave it alone. That's absolutely fantastic. Great. Okay, let's just deal with this distant area just here. Okay. What we're doing there, we're going to put a little bit more white on. Not much, just a little bit. We've got a lighthouse here, and we put a little bit of blue on. Now this is where your colour shaper comes into its own, because you can use that just to deepen the colour, like that. If you haven't got a colour shaper, that's okay. You can use, look, let me just show you again. If I put that in there again, I put the white in first of all, you can then use the white again on top of it, and that will blend it in. So if you haven't got a colour shaper, you can use one of these. But I'm going to use my colour shaper because I want to encourage you to try to use this, or a paper blender if you've got one. But how nice is that? How simple is that? Now, one other thing I want to show you. You see that lighthouse is virtually covered over. Now there are several things you can do with this. I'm going to use a rubber. Now you can rub it out with one of these, which is a soft rubber that I've got on the end of my pencil. And I just want to take it off like that. Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another colour on that. And we've already seen that any colour that's underneath it has an influence. Now at the same time of doing that, let's also rub the area along here out. We also have a pencil like this. Is a double-ended eraser, but you know that's something again, another thing you're going to have to buy. But later on, I would suggest you invest in one of those. And here, you want to take this off, but I don't want to take that. See that little bit there? Well, that's like a little fence, and I'll be dealing with it a little later. So we want the sky to be seen through it. Got it? Okay. Now all of these areas here can be done exactly the same way as I did with the lighthouse. you can buy these rubber. This is a soft rubber, and you want a soft, you don't want a hard rubber for this, because we're taking the pastel off of the buildings so that we can put more pastel on in different colours. And you know already that from the clouds that the influence of the blue on the white is not a good idea, so it's a good idea to get rid of it. And I'm showing you the whole thing because it doesn't take me long to do, but I like you to see how simple all of this is. And it's still building up here. And what we're going to do now is we're going to start up in this corner and work our way along. So I'll bring you a bit closer and I'll show you how we can actually start the ball rolling with the colours. I'm going to put a little bit of ivory in here. Now these are tiny areas, so you can only do your best. What I'm going to do here, put a little bit of ivory on there, and straight away I'm going to put a little bit of 182. Now 182 is a yellow ochre, and it gives us a start by drawing in, so that we have the drawing, okay? And then you can have a little bit of colour. Now we've got a roof that comes down here, on here, so I'm mindful of that, so I don't want to make that too strong. Okay, and we've got little chimney pots at the back there, and we put just a little bit of, find it, a little bit of dark brown behind it. So we got a tiny detail. You can't really do too much more than that, really, just a little bit. Now leave that for the minute, because we're going to come back to that in a tick. Now on the roof, pastel pencils really need base colours, because otherwise the colours become too stark. So what I'm doing now is using a grey. This is a cool grey, and I'm going to be making a blue roof here. Okay, now that's fine. And I'm then going to make it white here rather than ivory, because then it will show up better. Just bear with me because it all makes sense. Just there, I want that to be white too. However, straight away I'm going to, you don't have to do this straight away, but I'm going to put a little bit of grey in there, and then you put a little bit of white on again, and then that gives you a shadow and a shading. Okay, good. Now, I said I was going to make that a blue roof, so what I'm going to do, a little bit of blue that we've used in the sky, it goes on top of the grey, and there's also a bit of blue there, and a little bit of blue behind it. Now again, just as I did with the grey, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use what we call a Payne's grey, which is 181, and that darkens down the area of blue that I put in there. So, and then we can put the blue back on again. Get the idea? We can keep doing this, and then we get a dark blue, which is quite nice there. Now just on that top edge, I'm going to put a touch of ridge tile in red, like that. Okay. And the other thing we can do here is just to blend out with our blender. Just blend out that roof so that we've got a better. There we are. You see how now we can see that clearly. And if we use our 181, which we used before, for this time, just put a little touch of colour there, a little touch of colour there. If you can, I know it's tight, leave a little gap between the two. It gives you an impression then that you have a little bit of grey on there, a bit more grey, like that. That's good. Now just there we've got to use, I'm using the Payne's grey again, which is the 181, just to put a little bit of detail on that, and then I'm going to use a dark brown just to bring this into alignments. And we can use a little bit of ochre. Now you can use any colours you like. I'm just using a little bit of ochre on that just to make it look good. And what about a couple of little orangey type chimney pots? This is an orange I'm using, 101 in the Faber range. That's simple, isn't it? That's all you need to do. And what we can do now with our dark brown, dark 181 that we've been using, we can come down here and just down there and just put a little bit of design in the roof on top of the blue. See that? Now it doesn't look very much until you get the whole lot done, but that is so simple to do. Now what I'm also going to do now, we're going to move down to the remaining area of the building, and I'm going to use an ivory. Just to make this much simpler, I'm going to put the ivory in over the whole of that first building. I'm not going to go in between, so we're going to go in there. And then what we do then is use our 182, which is the colour we used on the chimney to start with, and we put some of that in, but we don't want it all over. We just want to create a texture. Now I can still see the drawing underneath. Now I'm just going to twist this round. Always do this, just twist them round. But if you put it on the board like I have, you just twist it round and you give just a little bit of extra. Make sure you can see it. It's all very well turning it round, but if you can't see it, what's the point? Okay, now come back. It's just the natural angle of my hand, that's all. And then down here we want a little bit of shadow under there, again using the 182. That's great. Now leave that alone for the moment, and what we'll do is we'll develop the windows. And what we're doing here is just going over the line drawing that I've got, which you'll have if you download it from the internet, and a little bit more down there. And we have a balcony here. It'll be fun. There we are, like that. That's it. There we are. Now that's good, isn't it? Now inside there, I'm going to make it just a little darker, using the same colour. And what that suggests, you see, is that these areas here, here and here and here are in fact going to be shutters. That's the word I'm trying to use. Now just here, if you can do this, it's great. If you can't, don't worry. But what I've done is I've darkened inside but left. You see that little bit of light that I've left there? You can, if you find that you've gone over the top of it, we'll just go back over with the ivory and just bring it back. Because we don't have shutters at the bottom, we only have them at the top. Okay. That's looking good so far. Now we need to darken inside there. And what we do is we go in with this is our reddy brown. The actual colour is 283 in the Faber range, but you can use any brown at all. What we're doing is just putting a bit of shadow inside there. And insert here. Like that. And this is a darker brown, slightly darker than the one I just used, and that just gives us that little bit of extra richness there. You've seen that? Just in the very darkest parts. Great. Now, what we can also do, because we want this to be quite bright, I'm going to put just a little bit of white on these shutters. Like that. I'll just do 2 and then you can see what they look like. See that? it's a little contrast between the ivory and the ochre that we've used on the building. So let's carry on again. Don't make them solid, do what I'm doing, just a touch, a little bit of white, so we've got a bit of texture there as well. Don't need to worry about that. There. But, where's the colour? Right, I'm going to use, just going to put a few stripes in to make it look as though we've designed like that. Oh, that's pretty. Okay, nothing down there. And with the dark brown now, we now got to draw our balcony in. There you go. Now that's pretty simple, isn't it? I don't think, to be honest, you need to do any more. This is a very simplistic picture. We don't want to complicate it. So I'm quite happy with that. Leave it alone. Move on to building number 2. Now over here, I need to erase a little bit more of this out. Give me a chance to show you another tool that we use. It's called a double-ended eraser, and you can see you can make a bit of quite a sharp point on it. Now on this end, I've got a soft rubber. On the other end, which needs sharpening, is a hard rubber. I don't know whether I'm going to use that in this particular picture, but I do use it for, you'll see me using it if you check out YouTube. But the main reason I use it is for what I'm doing there, taking detail off. Now I'm going to use the red just as I did up here with the ridge tile. I'm going to put a red on there. Don't put an undercolour on. And one there, and one there, and one there. Like that. Okay, and I'm going to have blue roof again, so we'll put in this is the grey, which I used for that just now. Your line drawing will be a little bit more explicit than mine. You'll find it a bit easier. I've made it difficult for myself by making it quite small now. I'm just going to put white in there because now we have the little dormer windows here. Go away. Same as as I'm pressing hard, so I'm breaking the lead. Or pastel, should I say, not lead. Okay, now we need to do the same as we did before up here with our white. Straight away, don't hesitate, don't leave it because you'll forget it if you do. We go in with grey on top of the white. And do you remember what we did? We put the white back. That gives us a shadow, which is lovely. Now having done that, we can now see that we've also got the roof to do, and that'll be the same as this one. So we go back in with the grey. Now we can see it clearer now, and then on top of that we put the blue. Just a little bit of blue. I don't do the dormer roofs at the moment because otherwise you'll get a bit confused. What we're looking for really is just this area. And if you're brave, use the colour shaper or a paper blender just to blend that in. Or you can use the white as you saw me do with the water just a little while ago. But that's quite nice. That. Good. You can always come back in and just refresh those ridge tiles if you want to. And then we use our Payne's grey for creating the shape. And the other thing about this is we have another little area. We've got those windows in. Nice, like that. And we can now finish the roof off. Run a few little tiles. It's just, you don't have to do this, you can leave it, but it just adds a nice little touch. Now that's too light in there, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the Payne's grey in here, because I used the medium grey and that really wasn't enough. I've still got the roof to do. Yes, I think that's better, to be honest, folks. In fact, I don't think I'm even going to bother with the white. That looks so good. I'm going to leave it alone. It's always wise to push your luck. Good. And now we've got the roof to do. So we go in with our grey. And our blue. And what we did here, we used the grey, the dark grey, just to darken it a bit more, like that. And make that just a little darker now. That's great. And what we can do, if we want, you can always go back in with another colour. This is one of the advantages of the pastel pencil. You can go back in with the lighter grey again, which is the first colour we use, and just lighten it up. See, that looks quite nice, that. And just on this edge, I think we can lighten that edge just a little bit too, using the same idea. Excellent. That is absolutely fine. Just when you finish, just put a few little areas of design in with your darker colour. I'm using 181, which is the Payne's grey for this. This is the darkest colour we're going to be using. Okay, so that's that little roof done. We don't have to do that anymore. Just always a good idea just to go over again, just make sure that we've got. Yep, good. We've got a contrast between here and the other building. Okay, now this building here, I'm going to put it in white. Now I'll continue that in a minute, but I'll just show you how strong this has got to be. Like that. Okay, and then you can I would use a colour shaper. It's a good idea to use a colour shaper here, just to blend it in. So you push the colour into the paper. I won't do the rest of it. I'll just do this section so you can see. And I'm going to make this a pretty colour, so I'm going to use a bit of pink on it. This is 131. You don't have to do this. You can, if you want to, you can put your own colours in. I'm just giving you some ideas here. A little bit of pink in there. And again, just blend it out with your colour shaper or paper blender. If you haven't got that, you can use the white just to blend it with. But what we want is it's not a solid colour like here, like we've done there. Okay, right. Now I'll finish this off, and then I'll show you how to do those little windows. Now we've got the windows. This is the grey again, 230 in grey, or cool grey, if you're using another pencil, type of pencil. And I want that grey all over there. Okay, now it gives us the base colour, and then we can put some colour in. Now before we actually do that, what I'm going to do in the right colour, I'm going to draw in the framework of the window with a green. Now this is a dark green, 174 in Faber range. And I'm going to go along the outside of these windows. Now a lot of the pictures that I do are realistic. This is really an impressionistic picture. That's why it's so simple, and really almost anything goes. You can put any colours you want in. But it's very attractive, as you will see when we finish it. So I'm not dealing with really great detail here. What I'm concerned with is just getting the colours right. So that's good. I like that. Now I just go into the centre area with another. There you go. There's our windows. And this is going to have a balcony, another balcony, so it's going to be like a French window, that will be. Okay, now we're going to put some green on now. I'm going to put some little green curtains in here, like that. And once I've done all that, then we'll finish off the frame. There you go, there's the green in there. And what we'll do now is we'll just finish off the framework. We just across here. This is with the dark green. There we are. Well, pretty. Now on this area, I'm going to make it slightly different. We're going to put a bit of blue in here, and I think what we'll do, we'll have a green door. In fact, we'll have a green door, but we'll make it a little bit more. And we'll have a little bit more detail than that. So we'll use the light green, which is a 168 green, and a little bit of 174. And then we'll just put just a little touch of depth with our 181 to make it look a little bit more. That's it. And what we'll do is we'll have a nice little red step. That'll make it look good. Excellent. Now, just in here we put the blue in, and then we'll put a little bit of grey. We've already put the grey in here, remember. Go with that. Blends in. And then we'll put 181. We want to keep the colours all sort of uniform, really. Now this is where the little balcony goes. We'll go along here with that, using 181 to do it with, and into there like that, and then put a few stripes down there. There we are. Now, doesn't that look fantastic? Great fun. Very simple. Nothing to it. Don't go mad. I mean, I'm just looking at here, and I could put a little bit of extra weight in the corners there, but really I wouldn't worry too much about that. It's looking good. Okay, that's another one done. Now we're moving to the next one. This is a little simpler in as much as we're going to be using ivory. In fact, we'll use ivory all the way down. That makes it so much easier rather than going around those colours, because we're going to use the ochres again on here, similar to the area we did here, and that's going to be the same up there. And I think before we go, we put a couple of little orange chimney pots on there before we, there we are, that looks good. And we'll then, I think, put a little bit of orange in there. I did say we're going to use ochre, but I've changed my mind. I think I'm going to put a bit of orange in there. A little bit of ivory again, just to, that looks good. And we can put 182 now, which is the colour I'm going to use, just to add a little extra weight to it. Good. Now the 182 is the windows. And also the door. Very small building, this one, isn't it? But this doesn't have to be real, folks. And what we do now is use our ochre, which that was 182. This is yellow ochre I'm using now. And once again, we want a contrast, so we put the contrast against the edge of that pinky tone on that house. And then that's the yellow ochre I've used. Now this is 182 again, the colour I used on the windows. And just put a little bit of that on. But if I turn it round once again with fear of losing you, we bring that down like that. That, a little bit of extra weight in there. And with our dark brown, we just put just a little bit of, I can put the window here, but here we're going to make that a framework for the door. There you go. Great. That's another one done. That didn't take long, did it? Okay, now we're going to move on. Back here, it's similar, really, to what we've done before, so we can do it again. A little bit of red and a bit of grey. And white. Oh, that is the only danger. White in there. Great. Now the blue. A bit of blue in there. You've got to be careful with this, because if you put too much of this on, it does really come out pretty powerful, and that's good. And we can just trim it up a bit. We get the white there. We've got a bit of ivory in the chimney, very tiny little chimney pots, hardly worth doing, but there. It's just interesting to do, just a little bit, and we'll have, this time we'll have, no we won't, we'll have an orange. There we are. It's only small, folks. And we want the grey. Do we want the grey? We want the Payne's grey. We want to make this little window there, and the little window there. That will do. Now this is exactly the same as the other one, so we'll put a little bit of ochre, a bit of ivory on there and there, a little bit of, because the shadows coming this direction, you see, coming this way, so we want, and a little bit of, in fact we can have, because we're not going to use any red here, we can put a little red chimney pot on there and a little red chimney on there. How about that? But the old roof is going to be the same. The blue roof. And we put the blue in. Now we can be perhaps a little stronger with this, because we've got this in shadow. Now that's quite nice, as opposed to that one, which is like bleached out. Good, yes, I like that. Okay, we just put just a touch down there. There's a roof on the other side, coming down. Now, what we're going to do now is going to make this building white. Okay, it's going to be white, there, solid. And in here, we're going to put grey because there's going to be a bit of shadow on it. Now we put the grey in and then we put the white back again. Now we do that because we then get a change of tone. Can you see the difference between the two? Solid white, and we then come in with our 181 again, jolly old Payne's grey, and create the edge. Like that. Just a touch darker, because I think really looking at this, I think we could be a little bit bluer here. Put the blue in and use the grey to blend it out. Oh, that's better. A bit more colour. We may need to. These are fiddly jobs, which really I'm showing you because you're going to need to do the same thing as me. But really, I usually do these things off camera. But anyway, I've showed you now. Now the little windows here. What we've got like a doorway there. It goes down to that. There's going to be a wall here. Then we've got a window there. And then we have a window above. That's it. Now we've got to also create a little bit of shadow in here. So I'm using 273 grey now, and the other thing I'm going to use is I'm going to use just a little touch of pink, if I can find it. Just a little smidgen of pink. Yes, that's nice. That way we separate that house from that one. Are you with me? And if we just run down, turn it up the other way again, we run down. Now, we just have because we've done quite a lot of this now, we'll just have a look and see what we do. You see, they get the idea behind this, how nice it's looking. When you first looked at it, you thought, I don't know about it, but you see, as it starts to build, it gets really quite attractive. And what I'm just looked at that again on the monitor, and you're seeing it really close up. There we are, just like this little titivation, I think, needed. That's better, because you can use the white because we've got white in the sky. Okay, that's good. Okay, well now we've got one more building to do. This is this one. And once again, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the white pencil on this side. Okay. But immediately I'm going to start to darken it. I could have used grey, which is what I actually use on this one, but I think it doesn't really matter which way you're going to go, as long as you darken it. That's going to be dark. And rather than pink on that, I'm going to put a little bit of blue in it, just a touch. And then I'm going to blend it with the grey. You see, anything goes with a pastel pencil. It's a remarkable medium. And then what we'll do is we'll just put a little bit of design in here. In fact, there's a wall there. Okay, there's a wall here. I have to be careful because I'm going to have a problem, I think, with my design if I'm not careful. A little bit of flex from there, and we can have a chimney pot there. That'll be alright. Now we've got the white in here now, so we can now put the white, the contrasting white. These windows are a little larger than the other ones, and the doorway. Now we put that in. And we'll leave the windows alone. Put a little bit of white in there, A little bit of white in there. This is very tiny, this folks. Okay, now over here, just there, we want to put, I'm going to put my other idea now, put grey in, and then we'll put white in again. Those windows there, we'll have to find them afterwards, they're too small to get around. Got the idea? That's quite nice actually. I think I can leave that alone. I think I need that. There's enough shadow on that. Okay, now I'm going to put ivory on. We're going to have a different roof here. We've had all blue up to now, but now we're going to have an orangey colour roof. Orange being the word I'm going to use. This is why I did the chimney pot in red. That's nice. And the reddish brown we can use now as our darkening agent. There's a little bit on there because that's just, there's a bit of shadow there. So oh, that works nicely. Bit of reddy brown, but then orange. Now we've got a shadow. It implies that it's sticking out. Got it? Good. Orange on that edge. Now that works so well that let's do the same thing here. A little bit of orange there, and a little bit of the reddy brown here. It makes it look as though the dormers are. They're so small, folks, that you can't really do too much with them. But I'm going to put just a little bit of dark in there. I don't think I can get any more in there. I think that's about the best I'm going to do with that. Push my luck, and then there's a window here. Good. Now the only thing I'm not happy with, you see the sky and this side of the building is almost the same colour. Well, we can't really have that, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken this using the grey, but the way I'm holding the grey, notice it's very, very light touch. But now I've got a contrast. Just whittle it down with the grey. That's better. I'm happy now. In fact, I think we ought to be doing something similar here. Good. Now just here we'll blend this in so we have a smoother surface. Good. And we'll think about the windows now. What I think we'll do, we'll have grey, and then we'll have a little bit of blue in there. Yes, that's nice. Put blue in there, but really, do you know, I don't think we can have blue. I think we're going to have another colour. Let's have a brown on top of the blue. Oh, that works. It's good. And what we do there, we'll leave the blue without blending, and we'll just put a little bit of Payne's grey in. It's just too small to fiddle with too much. What we'll do, we'll have a line that runs through there and along there, shadow under there, and a couple of little windows there. There's one there, one there, and one here. still not happy with that shadow, so let me work on it a little more. Down with the grey. Very, very light touch. Am I happy now? I think I probably am. Well, you can see a contrast, you see. This is the same here. You've got it. If you've got to see a contrast, you're okay. You come down here there with that. A little bit more here. There we have an edge. Like that. And I think I'm pretty happy with that, because we've got the light down here. It's a contrast against the sky at the back, and I think I'm happy with that. I'll think about that, folks, because if it's not, I'll show you how we can change it. But I'm pretty happy with it. Now here we've got a few things we've got to do. I'm going to have white there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my pink to actually break that off a little bit. A little bit of grey there as well. So it stops it from touching that house. That's what I was after. And here we're going to have ivory. All of this area is going to be ivory. Now these are walls. I don't really pretend to know quite what this is all about, but I'm following a picture, a reference picture which I had, which was quite nice, I must admit. And white at the end and there. So I will do those walls, but it's coming along now. I'm quite happy with it at the moment. Just by way of a change, over here it's got like a bank. Now we've got ivory again coming along here eventually. So what I'm going to do is work a bit of green here. Imagine we've got a little bit of greenery. A bit of green. This is 168. Oops, a broken 168 now, and 174. Just to have a little bit of variation. I think it's quite nice. Yes, and it's always nice to have a little bit of ochre in there as well, rather than just make it all one colour. And then just touch a little bit of depth in. That was 182 I used before, and this is just the 181. I like that. It just puts a little bit of edge to that. It's almost like a bookend. Okay, so I'll be working on this area next. I think what I'll do is I might as well do all of this at the same time. Do all of these at the same time. It's all ivory except white here. Like that. And it's going to be white all the way along there eventually, but that's okay. I'll come back in a minute. In fact, I'll pull away a little bit so you can see this in a better, and then we'll fill these up.